Hey everybody, today we are going to look at lesson 10-3, interior angles of triangles. From 7th grade, you learned that the sum of 3 interior angles in any triangle always equals 180 degrees. Yesterday and the day before, you learned about parallel lines cut by a transversal and a whole bunch of angles. We're going to use that today to help us find some information about triangles. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of geometry here. We're looking at a proof. It says line A is parallel to line B. Prove that the sum of the interior angles in triangle CDE is equal to 180 degrees. So we're going to use the information that's given and the information that you learned about parallel lines cut by a transversal to prove that those angles are equal to 180 degrees inside that triangle. All right, so the first thing that we have is we see that we have the two parallel lines. We have BE, we have line AC. Okay, we also have a transversal. Here's a transversal right here. Okay, so I know, or I hope that you guys know, that this angle right here and this angle right here, they're on alternate sides of the transversal. They're on the inside of the parallel lines. So that means that angle 1 should be equal to 62 degrees. Okay, we've got the same thing going on over here with line CE. We got another transversal. We've got another set of alternate interior angles. So angle 3 is going to be congruent to that angle E there. So that is also going to be 35 degrees. Okay, so let me go ahead and put some information here to explain it. Angle 1 and angle D are alternate interior angles. It must be congruent. Remember that symbol for congruent, or you can spell it out. The explanation for 3 and angle 35, or 3 being 35, is the same as the one above. Angle 3 and angle E are alternate interior angles. And must be congruent. I'll write it out this time. Okay, now angle 2 is right there in the middle, and if you can think about the sunshine, it's making a semicircle or a sun on the horizon. I can't remember how Mrs. Bird would have explained it to you, but it does make a line, okay? So what we know is that angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 must add up to 180 degrees. Because they form a straight line. So what I would do is I would take my calculator and I would type in 180. I would subtract 62. I would subtract 35. And then what you're going to get for an answer is 83. Okay, so the sum of the interior angles in a triangle is 180 degrees because by proving that angle 2 measures 83 degrees, we can check that the total sum of the angles in the triangle And I put an extra that in there, I didn't need it. We have 83 plus 62 plus 35 is equal to 180. Okay. By proving that the angle angle 2 measures 83 degrees, we can check the total sum of the angles in the triangle. 83 plus 62 plus 35 does equal 180. Okay, let's take a look at proof 2. It tells us that line C is parallel to line D. Okay, and it tells us that lines E and F are transversals. Okay, so what we're looking at here, we know the fact that angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 equal 180 degrees. Okay, so right here, those three. Okay, the three angles form a straight line. Which equals 180 degrees. Okay. Okay. We know that angle 2 is equal to which other angle? So I want you to look at angle 2. And I want you to look that it is in between parallel lines. I want you to look on the opposite side of the transversal. Okay. And you should see a relationship there where they're equal. So is angle 2 equal to angle 3, or is it equal to angle 4? I hope you picked up on the fact that they are alternate interior angles and that it would be angle 4. So angle 2 is equal to angle 4. Angle 2 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles and must be congruent. If I'm writing too fast or talking too fast, just pause the video whenever you need. All right, and the last thing that we're looking at, we're going to look at what angle 1 is congruent to. Okay, so I'm going to need the other transversal, so I'm going to use this line as my transversal. Okay, so angle 1 is on the top left of, it's on the left of the transversal on the top of the parallel line. If I look at angle 5, it is also on the top of the parallel line on the left side of the transversal. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. And the reason why is because angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. And we know that corresponding angles must be congruent. Oh, sorry, don't know how I accidentally hit something. Okay. The conclusion, the sum of the interior angles in a triangle is 180 degrees because if angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 equal 180, and we can replace angle 2 with angle 4, and angle 1 with angle 5, then angle 3 plus angle 4 plus angle 5 is equal to 180 degrees. Take a minute to finish writing that out. Okay, so we've got some measures on the next page. what we're going to do is we're going to use what we have learned about angle relationships to answer the following questions. All right, so again, we know that line C is parallel to line D. That's important that they're parallel because that tells us that if we have alternate interior angles or corresponding angles, that they're congruent to each other. Line C is parallel to line D. What is the measure of angle 5 if angle 2 is 48 degrees? And angle 3 is 93 degrees. Okay, well, we have to kind of go a roundabout way of doing it. One of the ways that I can do it is I know that angle 2 and angle 4 have a relationship. I know that angle 4 is 48 degrees because angle 2 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles. So let me write that down. Angle 2 and angle 4 are congruent. There's that symbol. Because they are alternate interior angles. Okay. Angles 3, 4, and 5 must add up to 180. So what I would do is I'd type 180 in my calculator. I would subtract 93. I would subtract 48. So what I would end up with is angle 5 being equal to 39 degrees. Okay. And there is another way you could do it. You could go with angle 1 and 5 at the beginning. Okay. Just depends on what you feel more comfortable with. Of course, we have to have a little bit more algebra in here, some equations. Okay, so we know that all the angles of a triangle must add up to be 180 degrees. So what we're going to do is we are going to add all of them together. So I'm going to add 5x plus 5 plus 3x plus 5 plus 90, that's what this represents, equals 180. And remember yesterday that if we had things that were supplementary, that we had to add our like terms. So 5x plus 3x, those are like terms. That's going to give us 8x. So I'm going to put that here for the equation. Then I'm going to add up my other like terms. I have a plus 5, another plus 5, and 90. So that's plus 100 equals 180. Okay, so I need to find out what x is. So I'm going to subtract 100 from each side, my two-step equation. And 8x is going to equal 80. Divide each side by 8. Okay, so that means x is equal to 10. All right, so the easy one to do is we've got to figure out what the angles are. The easy one is we know that angle B is 90 degrees. That's already there. All right, I now need to plug in 10 wherever I see x. So I'm going to go to angle A. That's 5x plus 5. So 5 times x, which we now know is 10, plus 5 is 50 plus 5 gives me 55 degrees. Angle C is 3x plus 5. We know that x is 10. Okay, so 3 times 10 is 30, plus 5 is 35 degrees. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. Okay, we don't have a 90-degree angle on this one, so but we do have a 68-degree angle. So I'm going to add all of them together. I'm going to set it up, set them equal to 180. So it doesn't matter which one I start with. 13x minus 3 plus 6x plus 1 plus 68 is equal to 180. Add my like terms together. So start with my variable terms. 13x and 6x That's going to give me 19x. Then I have a negative 3 plus 1 plus 68. So all those together is going to give me plus 66. And they're going to equal 180. Okay, so do your two-step equation by subtracting 66 on each side. I'm left with 19x is equal to 114. Okay, divide each side by 19. And x is equal to 6. Okay, so angle F is the easy one. I'm going to go ahead and write that in because it's already given to us. Angle D is 13 times x, which we now know is 6, minus 3. So 13 times 6 is 78, minus 3 is 75. So angle D is 75 degrees. Angle E, 6 times x plus 1. So 6 times 6 plus 1. So 6 times 6 is 36 plus 1, 37 degrees. Are you getting the hang of it? All right, the last one doesn't give us any angle measures. So we have to put all of our expressions there. So 2x plus 2x plus 4x minus 20 equals 180. So I'm going to add my like terms. So 2x plus 2x plus 4x is going to give me 8x. Just bring down the minus 20 because nothing can combine with that. Equals 180. All right, so I have to add 20 on each side. I have 8x is equal to 200. All right. So when I divide each side by 8, I get x is equal to 25. Okay, so angle G is 2 times x, so that would be 2 times 25, 50 degrees. I is also 2 times x, so that one is also going to be 50 degrees. Okay, and the last one, 4 times 25, which is 100, minus 20 is equal to 80 degrees. As long as you can do two-step equations and combine like terms, you're going to be good on these. All right, so the last problem that we have, it says in triangle JKL, angle K is 3 times the measure of angle J. Angle L is 8 times the measure of angle J. Find the measure of each angle in triangle JKL. I have to draw it out. So it doesn't really matter how you draw your triangle, just as long as you have a triangle there. So this is J, K, and L. That's how I've labeled mine, okay? So I know that angle K is 3 times the measure of J. So I'm going to make angle J X, okay? So K is going to be 3 times J, which would be 3x. And L is 8 times J, so 8x. Does that make sense? Let's look at that again. We know that K is 3 times the measure of J, and L is 8 times the measure of J. So angle J is going to be x. 3 times x would be 3x, so that's where the K comes from. And for angle L, 8 times the measure of angle J, that's where we get 8x. All right, so we're going to set that up. We have x plus 8x plus 3x. That's all going to equal 180. We have all of our like terms there. Don't forget, there is a 1 in front of there. So 1x plus 8x is 9x, plus 3x is 12x. So we have 12x is equal to 180. Okay, it's only a one-step equation there. So take 180, divide it by 12, and you get x is equal to 15. So that means angle J is 15 degrees. Angle K is 3 times 15, which would be 45 degrees. And angle L is going to be 8 times 15, which will be 120 degrees. Double check your answer. Add all those up. 15 plus 45 plus 120. Does that give you 180? Yes, it does. Okay, that's it. Hopefully you have no questions. Your homework should be pretty straightforward. Good luck. You may need to use a separate sheet of paper to do all your work.